the changing landscape of supply chain. Joining us today to speak about that, Matt Hoffman, Vice President of Product Industry Solutions at John Galt Solutions. Matt, it's great to see you. Welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me here today, Russell.
Matt, when you talk to clients out there, I'm just curious, what is it that you're hearing from them in terms of what's keeping them up late at night? What are the challenges that they tell you they are facing and dealing with? What do you say?
Great question. So a lot of people talk about supply chain disruptions and how we've never seen disruptions like this before. However, supply chains always had disruptions. Thinking all the way back to hundreds of years ago, when you would have a sailboat that's going across to the New World to bring products back, and that boat disappeared, and there was no visibility to that, and it would take months and months to years to come back. We've had disruptions. That continued in World War II when rations for the war effort meant that companies had to go back and change the raw materials that they used and bring in an entirely new workforce. And that has continued with globalization. So as we've globalized the supply chain, we've now lost a lot of visibility and direct oversight of the factories, and we've lengthened lead times and complicated the overall supply chain. So we've always had disruptions, but what's really been new and what's keeping up customers that we work with is the fact that consumers still have a really high expectation of service. So they don't care if there's a chip shortage, they don't care if there's a weather event that's taken down the road, they still expect that delivery to get there in a few hours or the next day. And then the decisions being made when these different disruptions come up, the supply chain leaders that we talk to are being pushed to make these decisions and make very well-informed, thought-out decisions very quickly, almost instantaneously with these disruptions. So the disruption's nothing new, but that expectation of the answer and the solution have significantly changed, and that's causing a lot of heartburn.
Interesting that you give an example, the difficulty with freight crossing oceans. Mm-hmm. Because of course, look at what happened when the Suez Canal was blocked, when the ship, got wedged in
there, absolutely.
Between the two banks there. And the disruption just went on and on and on in such an enormously expensive cost for so many companies. Well, given that you have now detailed exactly what the challenges are, I guess the question then is, how is it that supply chain managers and leaders need to start thinking differently in order to deal with these issues? So what would that be? What do you say? What would you tell them?
Yeah, absolutely. So supply chain decision making now has to go beyond the four walls. And instead of just thinking about inventory, it really needs to be an end-to-end view of the impact of these decisions and look at the different trade-offs between, for instance, service, and then also things like revenue, margin, and even cash flow. So for a lot of businesses right now, cash flow is king. And to be able to go back and look at the decisions around sourcing, how to bring products through, where to buy from, those all have significant financial impacts that need to be taken into consideration, as well as the impact in the service level and that fulfillment of the customer order. So it's more important now to have automation and decision making that takes into account the full end-to-end impact, and then also gives you insight to the different financial impacts. This is really where you see companies going through and doing what-if scenarios and take into account what they're going to do when faced with one of these different types of disruptions, and then put together a plan that matches their desire for profitability or cash flow or their tolerance for risk, and then come up with the different playbooks of how they respond. And this is the one way that supply chain leaders are thriving when they're putting together these scenarios ahead of time, because then they already have that path forward with that playbook based on running the scenarios ahead of time. So they're able to respond quickly and have the right answer and able to go through and address that disruption right away.
What you're saying is that leaders in supply chain have the knowledge about what to do, how to proceed, how to deal with these issues, etc. But the question is, are they able to execute on those decisions unless they or their representatives are in the C-suite, if they are at the table with all of the other leaders? Well, in fact, they are today. How has that changed things for them? What kind of impact and power has that given them so they can actually do the kind of things that you're talking about? What do you say?
It's a great question. So it used to be that supply chain was going and taking care of the plan that was put together by the rest of the C-suite. And now by moving outside of that four walls, as we just mentioned, supply chain has really elevated themselves. And you see this because there's this convergence of finance, planning, and execution where supply chain is addressing all of those different elements. Supply chain is such a big driver of being able to grow and fuel growth by being able to deliver, as well as being able to go through and have the analytics to drive those decisions when disruptions occur. So supply chain now has really elevated with the ability to go through and help the company make these right decisions, evaluate the trade-offs, and have this view of more than just supply chain, looking at revenue, profitability, and that cash flow. And that's really stood up the entire supply chain in terms of not just their company, their organization, but really globally, you now hear supply chain in so many conversations.
Mm-hmm. Matt, I want you to now help, if you will, the viewers out there who may have some idea of what John Galt Solutions is all about, but perhaps there is some additional information that you might be able to help them with. So talk to them about the focus of the company and just what you're doing to enhance the operations of your client base. What would you say?
Great, thank you. So John Galt provides an end-to-end supply chain planning solution. We service companies of all sizes and in all industries. One of the things that makes us unique, though, is our ability to help companies address today's tough, complex supply chain challenges while also giving them a roadmap for their digital transformation. John Galt's really been rooted in innovation for our entire history, and we continue to do that to help companies face these continuous disruptions in supply chain, that need for speed in execution, the speed in decision making, and the automation required to be really successful. Another area where we really thrive is our focus on, again, that automation and the analytics to do that, especially with a focus on supply chain. An example of that is our expert systems in AI and machine learning. So you'll see a lot of companies talk about AI and machine learning and how it's this great, exciting thing. But unless you have a data scientist or somebody translating that to your business needs, it doesn't necessarily deliver what companies are looking for. So for us, our focus is these expert systems where we take the AI and machine learning and we put them to work to solve supply chain centric problems. This includes everything from better predicting lead time, better predicting forecasts and analyzing and transforming data, and most importantly, giving businesses insights on what all that means. And what that does, it takes it from being a black box that nobody listens to and actually not just gives you a number or gives you a plan, it actually helps you understand what's driving the plan and then helps steer the business forward because now you have these rich insights that you did not have before.
Great information, rich insights, and artificial intelligence, not just a buzzword, but something that can genuinely help you in your enterprise. Matt,
Absolutely.
You're busy here, but you found time to speak with us. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and again, thank you for having me.
Matt Hoffman, John Galt Solutions, speaking with us today about the changing landscape in supply chain. Thanks for watching.